Today, we are looking at a very important topic that is relevant, especially to the newbie. If you're a beginner, come close. Don't make these mistakes as a young developer. While I was coming up as a beginner developer, I actually made some mistakes, things I didn't know before now. So I don't want you to make these mistakes as a developer. That is why I'm coming up with this particular video. So what are these mistakes I made in my early days of programming? One of them is lack of fundamentals. With every new framework that comes into play, every new developer wants, to match with that framework. They want to use it in their code. So they begin to switch from React. They want to jump directly to looking at React Native, which is used for mobile application. Then from somewhere they learned about Flutter. They want to jump into using Flutter in the application. From there, they heard about blockchain. So they want to use another new technology or framework to start learning. So at the end of the day, they are going to keep jumping from one framework, like I did, to another framework. So before you know, it's going to be months, days, and months can't by, and they don't have something they have already learned. Every developer, especially if you are just coming into programming or development, you need to know the fundamentals, because naturally, some of the languages, they are not so much different. One of the important things you need is logical reasoning ability, logical reasoning skill, or you can call it logical thinking skill. Take for instance, this is a program in C, like you can see, this is another program in Python. Okay, let's say another program in JavaScript, like you can see, if a statement in Python. You can see that some of this, there is no too much difference in some of these languages. But if you don't have the fundamental, then you keep jumping from one language to the other. That is going to haunt the period of learning the fundamentals. Learn the fundamentals of the programming language, and that is going to solve your fundamental problem as a beginner, going into the programming pitch. Then the second common mistakes we see young beginner developers make is not documenting their code. This is very important because documentation is going to save you a whole lot, not just for yourself, but let's say you are working on a project with other developers, that is going to help them. You build a project, you document in the readme.md file, then it's going to help you the future let's say you have the project today, in 3 months time you are coming back to look through, then you look at the readme.md file, that is going to break back your memory of all the things you have put together. But let's say not you this time, another person is looking at your code, the readme is going to help them to go a long way. Apart from that, let's say you came across certain bugs, certain processes that were difficult to tackle, and you documented them in that project, then that is going to help you solve subsequent challenges you are going to experience in similar projects. So one way to do that is to document your code. The next thing you are going to look at, over engineering solution. As a beginner, you want to think, what is the new framework to get this done? How do I make it complex? How do I build the next Facebook? How do I build the next Twitter? How do I build the next Amazon or Google? That is not the question that should be on your lip. The first thing you should be thinking about is, how do I break this down into the tiniest bit, step by step, before I start working on it. So there's a principle they call KISS. Keep it simple and stupid. Just keep it simple. It's going to help you. Avoid premature optimization. You have to break down how it works step by step, from one step to another. Maybe if you are building a website, talk about the landing page, then talk about the header, talk about how you move from there to another point. Then if you are going to convert it to a mobile application, talk about the design architecture, break it down. You talk about the user interface, how it's going to look like. You talk about maybe the backend, what data are you storing. So when you look at all of this, then it's going to help you to know from one step to another. Apart from that, it's going to help you know the resources you need, the number of developers you need to get this done. So case it, don't make things too complex. The next one we are going to look at inadequate debugging skills. Like they will always say, coding consists of 20% research, 50% debugging, and just 20% of actual coding. So you can see what that means. That means your debugging skill has to be top notch. If you don't know the fundamentals, then go back and brush up or learn more about debugging skills, like using your print statement, like using debugging tools. You can use the divide and conquer or binary search strategy. Then you can use, collaborate with more experienced developers to learn from their debugging experience. This is going to help you have good fundamentals about debugging, and that is going to make you to write good, efficient, and scalable code. The last one we are going to talk about is insufficient testing. Most times, developers write code, but they lack the testing prowess. There are a lot of testing systems you may want to adapt to. One of them is using unit testing. Unit testing is one form of testing you may want to adapt to as a developer. Unit testing, it helps you test each unit of your program. So you can use Manchu and Muncha. You can use other forms of testing to get your program to work. So these are some majority of the mistakes I made as a young developer. And I know that if you go through this, it's going to help you in your programming journey. I'll see you in the next video. So, bye.